Hey everybody, Dustin Dale's back here at the Funny Bone Comedy Club, 168th and Dodge at his Village Point Mall. Make sure you come out this weekend. We've got a comedian coming to town. His name is Dan Cummins. He's been on VH1 quite a bit. He's been behind the scenes on a lot of TV shows, and he's got some pretty cool stories that you definitely want to check out. Again, his name is Dan Cummins. He's in town all weekend long. Dan, how you doing, bud?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. We met a long time ago. I talked about that a little bit ago,
Yeah.
but it's been a long time. How you been these last 10 years?
All over the map, man.
Yeah.
Life has been good. Life has been good.
That's good. Yeah, I mentioned we were talking about the TV shows.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised. You actually, before we get into your on-camera stuff, you actually did some behind-the-camera stuff for some reality shows.
Yeah, I worked as a consultant producer on a bunch of reality shows. It just kind of happenstance. Just a guy I met through stand-up who was directing a stand-up thing I did. Also was a showrunner for reality TV and brought me in as a consultant producer, which is kind of like you write outlines for reality shows, and I did that for a while, which is I thought was funny because I don't really like reality TV, but it was fun to work on them. Yeah.
Yeah, you worked on Duck Dynasty, Town of the Living Dead, and what other ones?
I don't even remember, to be honest. It was a bunch of them. It was a couple, some Leah Remini show. It's weird because I never watched any of them. So it was Leah Remini, the country singer. I can't even remember. Leanne Rimes. A couple others. Honestly, it's like, yeah, I don't ever think about it. Yeah.
Well, Duck Dynasty was a huge one. I want to touch on that one. I mean, that show was big. I mean, it made those guys into household names. What was it like working with that crew?
You know what's funny is when you work as a consultant producer, you never meet the actual talent most of the time. Because, like I was in L.A. working in a production company near LAX for that one. And, they're in, West Monroe, Louisiana. And so, I was in like a writer's room essentially working on things for them to kind of do. But I never went out into the field because I was also touring stand-up during the weekends. I had no interest in like being that involved. Yeah. And so, so I never met them. Yeah.
Was there maybe a segment or something that you gave to them that you thought was pretty dang funny?
There was, it's been a couple years now, but there was, there was a couple. There was one thing we did with Cy about him doing an instructional golf video that I think that made it to air. Yeah, I know it. Yeah. And I remember that was the one in the room we thought was the funniest, just like what kind of things would he say to people he's trying to teach golf to, and that was really fun. And then there was someone with a truck, where oh my God, it's been so many years now. The main dude, not the dad Phil, but the oldest son.
Right. His name escapes me too now.
Name escapes me, but he had had to get his truck switched out, and he had a bunch of truck shenanigans. And I remember that was one that it kind of worked out how we thought it would when it was filmed, and it was just cool to see it done that way.
Now, you did some on-camera work for VH1. You did a show called World's Dumbest, which is one of my favorite shows. I used to have that on in the background when I was working out or whatever, because it's funny. And there was also a show, I love the 2000s. Tell me what went through your mind coming up with some of those bits for that?
God, this is going to be the worst interview because I never think about this stuff, I'm always working on kind of like the next project. I'm really or maybe like a lot of creative people, once a project's done, I just kind of move on. Like I don't really think about it. But I remember that was an interesting one where they would have you tape. They gave you footage to basically the whole season is the way I did that particular show. It's the only one I did like that. And then you wrote kind of jokes based on the footage, but for a lot of different things. And then what's weird about that one is a lot of those talking head ones, you just go tape it with kind of a situation like this. It's like, you get your camera. You would have like a producer like behind the camera basically like setting you up like, hey, what did you think about, whatever, music video that came out in 2000s or whatever cultural event that happened. And then you kind of have your sheets, your notes, and then you make the corresponding joke. Yeah. But it's a very sterile environment. It's funny, like when you have to tape those, you're just in a random room. That one was in just some weird, almost like a warehousey kind of room in LA, and the guy had no personality. Like the producer was just dead inside. So he would just ask you a question, and then he would just look at your notes, and you would just play to the camera and get zero feedback. And I thought he just hated me, and I was like, whatever. I'm not the cockiest guy. It's like I get it if you don't think I'm funny. But I talked to other cast members, and I guess that guy was just like that to everybody, which I was like, well, how is he not fired? Like you're an audience of one, buddy. Like give some life. But and then World's Dumbest was some friends of mine produced that, and they were really funny, and that was if I ever get blackmailed, it'll come from World's Dumbest footage because I had a reputation on that show for saying some of the maybe like darker things on air, but like the by far the least darkest things I said were the ones that made air. Like there was, I'd say 10% of my stuff made it onto air. The other 90%, even the guys in the room sometimes were like, whew. Ah, buddy. Ah, jeez. But I tried to be very unfiltered for that.
Very nice. Well, hopefully someday we can get some of those unaired comments, because that was pretty good stuff. I like that.
Thanks. It's a fun show.
One thing, though, that stuck out to me, I would hate myself forever if I didn't talk to you about this. You spent some time working for Playboy, doing some stuff with them. Tell me your experience with.
It's funny, like, I think sometimes people think that maybe all the choices you make are just based on your creative whims or what you want to do, but I've had kids pretty much the whole time I've been touring, and sometimes the decision just comes down to more money. And basically Playboy was a money decision where working at Playboy, I worked for this Playboy morning show, and it was just an easy gig in Burbank where I got to tape Monday through Thursday, and then I could leave after the Thursday morning taping, and I could still do stand-up on the weekends. And not that it was a bad gig, it just it was I would almost describe it as like a European variety show where it was after they lost their Sirius XM contract. It wasn't on that anymore, and it was just for their TV channel. And it was basically just 4 Playboy models per show, my co-host who was a Playboy model, and then like celebrities, musicians, reality TV stars would come in. We'd interview them about projects and then play like silly games with them based where the models would, like an example could be like know it or show it. The very simple, like a simple game where trivia, the 3 Playboy models would be asked trivia questions based on the guest's career, and if they got it wrong, they had to take off an article of clothes. So they pretty much would just end up naked every single show. So I was around a lot of naked women for a couple years.
And they actually physically paid you to do this.
Yeah, exactly. I was they paid me pretty well to have a preposterously easy job. Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. That was it is so random that working with naked models is what bought my kids a house. Life's funny.
Life is very funny, that's for sure. You got a album that came out last year, September. Tell me about that album that came out last year.
Oh, it's it was a special where the video version is on Amazon Prime, and then the album is just out everywhere. And that was I taped it at a rock club in Salt Lake City, and it was fun, man. It's called Don't Wake the Bear, and it was just a fun. That was my last album with Warner Brothers, so now I'm kind of excited to enter a new period of, see what I can do with the new material. And I'm no longer under a big record contract. I did 5 albums altogether with them, and so I'm excited to kind of start the new era.
And you can check that album out on Amazon Prime, so make sure you go check that out. And so I'm curious, if you're not on Warner Brothers, does that kind of open up your range as far as what you can use on the record for the next one?
No, I mean, they wouldn't censor me, but it just means I can do different partnerships. Maybe it'd be easier to get a special somewhere else because, when we tape the special for Warner, it's like, most networks don't do it that way anymore. Like, they just do their originals, and I couldn't do an original the last, 7-8 years because I was under contract with them, and so I don't know. Hopefully some good stuff will happen.
And also, folks, make sure you check him out on Sirius XM. He comes out on the Comedy Central channel a lot, and make sure you check out his podcast every Monday. He drops at noon, correct?
Yeah, Time Suck. That's my main project now. Is every Monday at noon. Yeah, noon Pacific time.
What goes into that podcast?
A lot of research. That's my passion project, and that's like. I just like learning about new things, and I like storytelling, and so I just every week is one topic, and it can be kind of anything that's interesting. Like the last topic was the KKK, actually, where it's all the racial tension going on in Charlottesville. I was like, I just realized that I actually had no idea who these people are, how long they've been around, why their organization started, and and it's just seemed like something that needed to be explored, and then I try and put in like a social message at the end. It's like. Why did they become racist? Why are they saying that? Why are they so hateful? And I'll pull up psychological studies of about here's how people become racist. Kind of an example of so don't do this in your life. So it's kind of fun. I mean, I get a lot of good positive feedback. I might do a random episode about Kurt Cobain and about his I love Nirvana and his life and his career, kind of successes, but also his death. and like, why did he commit suicide? And then that becomes an exploration of depression, and and I'll put like a suicide hotline number in there for people, and so it's like it's a good combination, I think, of you get to educate yourself, and I try to make them really funny.
Yeah.
It's my sense of humor throughout, but also some kind of like takeaway that's more than just like trivia at the end too, like something cool to think about and talk about with family and friends, and yeah, it's been fun.
It's definitely a thoughtful comedy podcast. It's called Time Suck. Every Monday at noon Pacific drops. Make sure you check that out. Don't Wake the Bear. Amazon Prime, you can check it out there. SiriusXM, you never know. Watch World's Dumbest. He might pop up there every now and again as well. And also, this weekend, Funny Bone Comedy Club, 168th and Dodge. Dan Cummins, he's going to be here headlining all weekend long. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, Dan. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.